Oklahoma, Nebraska. That was college football to me, you know? So there's a story that Texas and Oklahoma are going to notify the Big 12, we are leaving at the end of our contract. Be very, very careful, Texas, what you hope for. I've always had a soft spot for Texas because years ago, I always liked their uniforms and their helmets and their brand, and I love Austin, Texas. Great city. But years ago, I went to a Texas USC game, and it's the single greatest spectacle of any sporting event in the 30 years I've been a sportscaster. And I didn't want to sit in the press box. I sat in the stands right in the middle of the Longhorn section. And they were smart and good-looking people, and we sat there and witnessed an incredible sporting event. Reggie Bush, Vince Young, and they were classy. And the stadium, the Rose Bowl, was just awash in, that rust orange Longhorn color and that USC, gold. It was an epic. I mean, it was a photographer's dream. And Roger Clemens is on the sideline and Hollywood stars and Matthew McConaughey. And it is the single greatest 3-hour event of my life. And I've always had a soft spot for Texas football, the Longhorns. I just always liked them. They to me, they're cool. They could go independent. They feel more Pac-12 to me. I mean, they're progressive. They're cool. They're techie. They feel Pac-12 to me. They don't feel like Starkville. They don't feel like Oxford. They don't feel like Gainesville. They feel kind of like L.A. with cowboy hats. The music, the progressive politics, it's super techie. In fact, San Francisco during COVID, the biggest exodus of any city in America was Californians moving to Austin, Texas. Californians like Austin, Texas. They eat well, they party well. It feels like an extension, a little bit, of the West. The SEC does not feel like the West. It's cutthroat, it's insular. The recruiting is a pit of cheating and paying off players. Sorry, that's the reality with the SEC. Ole Miss is just the one that got caught. I don't think Texas feels like the SEC. They are a regal glamour brand, a little like USC. I remember talking to a football coach at USC about 5-6 years ago. And he said, actually it was an administrator, and he said, we want our kids to enjoy this experience. USC is more than football. Look at the Olympics. It's filled with USC, UCLA athletes. We want our kids to experience college too, not just a weight room. They're not too concerned about that in the SEC. So connected, so smart. And I've talked to Jimmy a lot about Jerry Jones over the last 2 years, and he's always classy about it, but it was really simple, very simple, not complicated. The great coaches, Bill Parcells, Jimmy Johnson, Bill Belichick, do not like meddling. They're great at what they do. And Jerry Jones started meddling. And so Jerry yesterday did show remorse for screwing up, and it was Jerry Jones' fault. Absolutely, unequivocally, inarguably, it was Jerry Jones' fault. Jimmy left. They got Barry Switzer, who took the momentum for a year, won a Super Bowl, but in the end, Barry's not Jimmy. And here's Jerry Jones now acknowledging, yeah, I screwed it up.
I go back to what Barry Switzer said. Barry Switzer came in the office, and Jimmy had just left. And so Barry came down from Norman, Oklahoma to talk about getting the job. And he comes in and he said, where's Jimmy? I said, Barry, Jimmy's gone. We're sitting here talking about you being the coach. I said, what in the world are you so anxious to talk to Jimmy about? He said, I just wanted to get both you little on this couch and ask you both, how could you this up?
Do you think you can answer Barry's question now?
I've never been able to know why I it up.
Well, it's not overly complicated. When Jerry Jones bought the team, he pushed all his chips into the table. He didn't have a lot of excess cash. And so, as Jimmy's told me multiple times, Jimmy was at one end of the building doing football, and Jerry was at the other doing business, and they were both crushing it. They were both crushing it. And then Jimmy started winning a lot of games and Super Bowls, and Jerry at the other end of the business, now with the money flowing, thought, I'm not getting enough attention. How come Jimmy's having all the fun doing football? I played college football too. And then Jerry did what many owners in sports have done. He started meddling. And one of the greatest football coaches in American history, Jimmy Johnson, said, I'm out of here. It's the same reason Parcells left multiple teams, including, remember, if I'm going to make the dinner, I want to buy the groceries. He said it in New England. That's why Bill Belichick didn't like the Garoppolo move by, Bob Kraft. But in a bigger, more macro sense, the Texas Longhorns and the Cowboys are both in the news today, and they're the two biggest brands, respectively, NFL and college in the state. And the brand is way bigger than the success. In 25 years in the Big 12, Texas has 3 Big 12 titles. How the hell is that possible? And in 25 years, the Cowboys have 3 playoff wins. How is that possible? Because Texas is about ego. When I think of Vermont, I think of syrup in the fall. When I think about Colorado, I think about the mountains. When I think about California, I think about the beaches and tech. When I think about Texas, I think about ego. Even their slogans, don't mess with Texas. It's a whole other country, the Lone Star State. Everything's bigger in Texas. The state of Texas should dominate football in America. Should absolutely dominate it. They have the stadiums, the resources, the passion. Why don't they? How does Nebraska have more national titles? How? How is that possible? Why can the state of Alabama, with Auburn and Alabama, have so many more national titles than a massive, well-capitalized state like Texas have so few? Because all football in Texas, except for TCU, underachieves. TCU doesn't. TCU works hard. Gary Patterson, egoless, focused. They take 2- and 3-star recruits. They develop them slowly and patiently. Everything else underachieves. The Cowboys underachieve. The Texans, remember how embarrassing the Texans were years ago? They were going to play Monday Night Football against the Patriots, and they wore their Letterman's jackets. J.J. Watt, Letterman jacket. And then they were sadly beaten 42-14. It was an embarrassing display that I think I mocked for the better part of 2 years. Texas should dominate football in America. It is a massive state. Incredible camps, incredible high school football, incredible resources. And the Longhorns and the Cowboys have messed it up. Too much meddling from boosters. Too much ego from owners. And football, nothing kills dynasties like ego. Basketball is a lot of isolation. I mean, it's an egoless, team-oriented sport more than any in America, where 11 players have to play in absolute unity. If you flinch as a running back, lean forward, it's a penalty. The team is penalized. When I was in high school football, and I hated this, but if we at practice, if an offensive lineman jumped offside, our coach made the team run. I was always like, what about that guy? I didn't jump offsides. It's not the way football is. It's not the way football. My basketball practice was different. If a player screwed up, the player ran sprints. I didn't have to run for him. But my high school football coach, we all ran if the left guard jumped offside. And that is football. Hard Knocks, guess who's on it again this year? The Dallas Cowboys for the 3rd time. Yet there's 20 teams that have never been on it once. I wish the Cowboys were better. Be better for my show. I mean, if the Yankees win World Series, the Lakers win titles, the Dallas Cowboys win Super Bowls, my ratings go up. Like, I'm rooting for it. But again, this year, 9-8, 8-9. It's where they've been the last almost 3 decades. All right, now let's talk Texas Longhorns football. And I have said this before. When I was a kid,